Just like me, I am sure that you know many Manchester United fans. Christ, you may even be one yourself. And the decade and more of the repeated cycle of the Manchester United way has been something which I find remarkable and yet incredibly predictable. And we're going through it all over again. Similar to how before Ten Hag came through the doors at Manchester United, there was a real feeling of hope. Ten Hag by no means before joining United was some bum. He was seen as someone with forward-thinking ideas, an up-and-coming young-ish manager in Europe that can bring something new to the Premier League. With his fantastic campaigns over at Ajax, scoring a lot of goals and playing attractive football, dominating the league, and of course having some fantastic runs in European competitions. So when he came for the door at Manchester United, it felt like a new era, with the iconic quote talking about Pep Guardiola's Man City and Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool, saying that eras come to an end, and it felt like maybe this could be the time that they got it right. And deja vu is coming again. Similar to all previous managers with a bit of hope and a bit of expectation that maybe they can take them forward. I think the last time this really was felt was Louis van Gaal, with someone from Europe with a good idea, a good track record, they can bring something new. And there was an idea with Louis van Gaal, it just was never going to work at Manchester United with the way of how that club operates. And now we're going through it again. Welcome a Dutchman to a Portuguese man. I don't think that's a word. Ruben Amorim. Now, for me, from a personal point of view, I really like this appointment. I think it's a very good appointment for Manchester United, and there's many reasons why. However, you can't help but feel like we've gone through this road before. Ten Hag came in, I remember endorsing him, saying that I think he could be the one to move them forward due to the fact that he was very different to who they had previously. He was more of a disciplinarian. United was very well known for having a very just destructive, almost player power culture, where the players were simply bigger than the manager and sometimes even bigger than the club. It felt like the likes of a Paul Pogba and a Cristiano Ronaldo, and even maybe you could say the likes of a Marcus Rashford as well, that felt like they had complete control and power to do whatever they felt like. And Ten Hag, you can say, absolutely put his foot down on many of these players. Some you can may say maybe harsher than others. One of samples, of course, the Jadon Sancho situation, and it felt like an impossible job, because no matter how much he tried to be hard on these players and to discipline them, if it doesn't come with results, then it may not come with any sort of reason to believe in him. And it felt like that was only inevitable. And it asked the question of why he wasn't sacked in the summer, despite the obvious expectations that he was going to be sacked. They won the FA Cup final, and that's the thing you can always say about Ten Hag, is that despite some incredibly poor league performances, losing 7-0 at Anfield, conceding 4-5 goals on a consistent basis, he still did win 2 trophies that in the history books, that will be remembered more than anything else. So there's always been that weird, okay, but he did win something mentality with him. However, the football was simply too poor to forgive, with players that we simply know are good enough. And that's the main issue. Some players at United have been there for a long time and have been there for 2, 3, 4 different managers, and have gone through the same cycle as well. And I think it's now reaching a boiling point of when these players are really going to be questioned by the Manchester United fan base. But tell me about your thoughts on Manchester United, on Ruben Amorim, and do you think that he could be the man that can at least push them to attempting to be a somewhat competent footballing side? I'm not saying going to go win the league, but at least have some sort of sense of identity and pride back into that football club. Personally, I think he can, but we've gone through this road before. So comment down below, like, subscribe, and Mazola Designs for the best football prints, all made by myself. Of course, Halloween's now over, so we're now reaching the Christmas season, so Xmas for 15% off all items. As you can imagine, we've got tons and tons and tons of United prints. So for the best Christmas gift idea for your loved ones or for yourself, links down below, top of the description, and let's get into it. So when it comes to Ruben Amorim, there's two main questions. Number one, how is he going to try to play football United? And number two, my main one, why wasn't he brought in the summer in the first place? Why did he wait and waste time to even bring him in? It was very well known that he was one of the main candidates to be brought in the summer when Ten Hag was clearly being forced out the door before that FA Cup final. And he was someone that they talked to and he was interviewed. So why wasn't he brought in there? With Amorim, it was pretty simple. He had a release clause set with Sporting Club de Portugal. And when it came to negotiation, it seemed like it was quite positive. He seemed to really like his tactical understanding and his personality felt like he could be suited and aligned with what Ineos wants. According to insiders, the main key issue of why he was not brought in was his tactical philosophy. Ruben Amorim plays a 3-back formation. In every single one of his almost 200 games for Sporting de Portugal, he played a 5-back formation in some way, a 3-4-3 or 3-5-2. Always a 3-back, and with United always being a 4-back team, with the kind of players that they had, they felt like that would be kind of difficult to integrate into what they currently have for the players that they got at their disposal. Kind of like so a Lisandro Martinez work well with a Harry Maguire, work well with a, of course back then, a Rafael Varane in a back three. There were a lot of questions of how that can work and how it can properly disrupt what they've got going there. Of course, he was also available when Liverpool were looking for a successor to Jurgen Klopp, and this was the very same reason why they went for it on a slot other than a Ruben Amorim due to this main difference. Another factor could be the very large sum of money you have to pay upfront to unlock his release clause, alongside the fact that there wasn't too much of an obvious claim that his tactics in Portugal would translate well to the Premier League at elite level. And for a manager, he is again quite young. He's still very new to the game, but has made very great strides in Portugal, winning 2 league titles over there for Sporting. And it was led to believe that at that current time period, they were looking at bringing in someone like a Thomas Tuchel. According to reports, it was him that was the furthest in actually joining Manchester United in the summer. And one thing that people probably don't understand with managers is that to sack them, it costs money, like a lot of money. You're going to pay them out of that contract because technically the manager's doing their job. It's the part of the football club to decide to pick the right manager, because to sack them early, you got to pay them out. So Ten Hag has been given a rather large sum of money, about £15 million, to buy him out of his contract. And alongside that, they're going to also pay a lot of money to buy a manager. So basically, £15 million has gone to buying out Ten Hag, and then another €11 million to buy out Ruben Amorim from Sporting Club Portugal. So 25 or so million pounds has been spent just for the managers alone. That's why this decision is something that you don't do easily, and why they've took their time in doing so, and to give Ten Hag what some may say more than a fair share crack of the whip. And there is a somewhat weird element of nostalgia with this, or some kind of rite of passage, where Sporting seems to have some strange link to Manchester United. It seems that, you know, Cristiano Ronaldo, of course, coming through from Sporting to Manchester United, and one of their best players in recent years being, of course, Bruno Fernandes, of course, came from Sporting, and Portuguese talent as well at United. It kind of has a good feeling to it, as just a general sense of this makes sense. So let's talk about identity. That's the main thing that I've always critiqued, and a lot of people have always critiqued the likes of Ten Hag for being there for 2 years, and you never really saw a clear, obvious style of play. For me, it felt like he relied too much on individual quality, and of course they have great talent, to get over the line in so many games. And that there was never any real clear, consistent style of play. There was moments that you felt they was doing something in that direction. They felt like, okay, they know what they're doing, they know where to go. And then sometimes it just kind of changes. The most clear and obvious, just big question mark of him was just the absolute space in midfield, where it felt like the gap between the defence and the midfield and the attack was so spaced out apart, meaning that they were just so open to transition. And the worst part was, of course, the cutbacks. Here's an image now of Sporting Club de Portugal's playing style last season. So you got attack, defense, progression, and possession here. And this is in comparison to all the top 7 European leagues, so every single club in those leagues. So as you can tell, defensively they like to play quite a high line and to be very, very aggressive with their defense. In terms of their midfield, they are very tactically nuanced when it comes to their press resistance, meaning that they like to keep the ball, and they are very good at doing so despite how much pressure gets put onto them. And with the speed of their attack, it's quite fast, so they're not exactly passing the ball left and right, trying to find for the perfect opportunity. They like to take a few risks here and there, so they are less predictable, let's say, in the attack. And there is a kind of element of deja vu. Something that we saw quite often with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was, of course, the link of, well, he's Norwegian, and there's this pretty amazing up-and-coming talent in Norway, in Erling Haaland. And there was these always obvious links that, well, of course, he's going to try to bring, Erling Haaland to Manchester United. You're going to be getting that again this time, of course, with Vizeh Gyökeres, who, of course, is an incredible number 9 with amazing stats. And the fact he went from Coventry to Sporting was quite a surprise to me, because I felt like he should have probably clearly gone straight to the Premier League, and I am very surprised that no one actually went for him at a time period. But despite all of this, despite the kind of obvious hopes and dreams, I can't help but also feel like we've kind of gone through this again with Ten Hag, that there was a lot of hope and expectation of him too, for the up-and-coming young manager overseas. So again, if this doesn't work, then what would work with Manchester United? With the players that they have, can you see the likes of a Casemiro working well in a Ruben Amorim system? I don't know, and I don't really think so. So there leads to a lot of questions of how these players would adapt to this new philosophy. And how much time will we get? You'd imagine some time. So tell me down below your thoughts. I like to think they could do something here, but you just never know. But I think it's a good one. And it's a risk. So comment down below your thoughts, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.